Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, man. One of the all-time greatest, one of my idols, somebody I've looked up to my whole career, Mr. Shaw Grigsby. One more cast. I love you, dude. I don't know what else to say about it. Don't take that wrong or gay, but I think a lot of you, Shaw, and I'm so honored to be sitting here next to you. And what we try to do on this deal is, man, a lot of the young fishermen, a lot of the young pros, they want to know, how did you get to where you're at? How did you become a professional fisherman? You know, nowadays they have college and high school and all that stuff.
Amazing.
When you started and I started, they didn't have that.
Right.
And so I would just love to hear about it. Like, how did you get into bass fishing?
Well, you know, my family was just like, we didn't do other things. We were always outdoors. So we'd, you know, go camping. We hunted a lot. My dad loved hunting, and we fished. And for us as a family, like every year when we get out of school for summer vacation, we go to the mountains of North Carolina and trout fish. And I mean, loved it. Wading in the streams, get up early, you know, get out there, put on a wet pair of pants that you waded in the day before. It's all sandy, and you go out there and just fish, you know, and nobody else come back, have breakfast, mom and have breakfast. Then we go somewhere on a trip and go fish the whole time and eat trout, and loved it. I mean, that's just what we did. That was probably from, you know, early times, maybe even 8 or 9 years old, all the way through.
That's what lit the fire.
Yeah, and I actually went a couple times after, you know, graduating and all. Just loved it. And so, but anyway, we'd hunt and fish. And my dad was a tinkerer, so he loved redfish, and he loved tinkering with baits and figuring things out and making his own stuff. And so, you know, it was just natural that we'd go fishing. But, you know, it was everything fishing. There was no focus on my fishing. And like I said, it was hunting and outdoors and camping and snakes. Like, I used to catch poisonous snakes in high school and stuff. And so when you look at
poisonous snakes.
Oh, yeah. So it's kind of a cool.
My wife would have come unglued at that.
Mine did too.
She sends me pictures while I'm down here. Is this a poisonous snake? Babe, none of them are poisonous. Every one of them's a cottonmouth rattlesnake, you know, water moccasin. You know, every one of them she sends me.
This is how cool school was in the 60s and 70s. I graduated in 74, but I took a live cottonmouth and a live rattlesnake to school in an aquarium.
To school?
To school. Put it on the table. And we fed them in class, and my biology teacher was Virginia Allen, which was Ross Allen, who is the world's foremost authority on snakes, had Ross Allen's Reptile Institute at Silver Springs. It was world famous, and people would come to Silver Springs, not just for Silver Springs, but to see the Reptile Institute. And they would milk the snakes and get the venom and did all the early venom stuff, and he was the world's foremost authority on it. I sold them to him. And so it was cool.
Poisonous snakes.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife, if some other kid brought poisonous snakes to where her son goes to school, I mean, she would shoot them.
Yeah. I actually caught one at work one day, and a big diamondback, and I brought it home, and I had it in an aquarium on the kitchen table. And my wife, a nurse, she's a nurse, so she was working to like 11. When she gets off at 11, she comes into the house, she walks by the kitchen table that's all dark, you know, 11 o'clock at night, and she hadn't turned on the lights, and I'm back in the room sleeping, and that thing lights up, and she freaks out. She thought she was dead, that there was a rattlesnake guy out in the house.
And it was in
an aquarium, and I almost died that night. I mean, she did not like me after that.
Shaw, can you imagine, like, the reality shows? You know, now they had all these reality shows with a turtle man. You were the first original.
No,
you know.
There were lots of guys that did it back then, but I got real close to getting bit one day, and I don't handle them anymore. So I'm done with the snakes. But getting back to it.
You're a man that nobody would ever mess with. That's just like a whole new level.
So I was telling you about in high school, not only the snakes, but so I was the outdoor kid. So Virginia Allen, who was my biology teacher, comes in and gets me out of math class. And she said, you know, I need Shaw. I'm like, okay. So we're walking in school, and she says, there's an alligator in the creek. And I went, so? She said, well, I don't want any kids to get bit by the alligator. She says, I want you to catch it. And I'm like, what about me getting bit? You know, I'm like, what the heck? So anyway, you know, the only alligators I'd ever caught had been like on a buzz bait or something like that, and then you got them and you grab them and you unhook them. Well, I got down in the creek, wading in the creek. She's right beside me, and I sneak up, and I'm doing it just like you would a snake. I come up behind him, and he's about that long, and he's down underneath, and I just grab him. And so it's the first time I'd ever just grabbed a gator out, and it starts tearing it up. I got kids all on the bridge at the creek and down the sides, and I'm like holding on this gator, and he beats me up pretty good, but I get a good grip. And then she takes my belt off and wraps it around the mouth, cinch it down. We get him out, tape him up, and take him off. So that's my outdoor stuff. Come on, man.
Here's another legend right here,
Yeah,
like major
true
legend. One of
legend.
the all-time biggest weights ever caught in bass fishing history, Paul Elias.
First, I want to congratulate you.
Congratulations, sir.
Don't step on the
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Pretty awesome, buddy.
well, it feels good.
Yeah.
I promise you, man.
We're in Florida at the Harris Chain, if you didn't know, and Paul had a really good 2 days, and me and Shaw, we didn't, but
No.
Paul did, so.
He did good.
we're
And
excited
he's the
for him.
oldest guy on tour here, 70. Just had
He
his
don't look
birthday.
70.
No, he don't. And he still fishes as hard as
That's
anybody.
how I feel right now.
You feel on cloud 9, don't you?
Well, I mean, I'm wore out. I fished my rear end off. Those boys ran that score tracker up today.
Oh, did they?
I thought the
That
cut
was
weight
sick.
was going to be like 24 pounds,
Yeah.
and it ended up being almost 40.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I've
It
never
went-
seen that before.
No,
Yeah.
it was definitely crazy.
I kept watching it, and cause I left most of my, I left my good area, and I kept watching. I caught about 9 or 10 pounds and left, and I kept watching that score tracker. And,
You're like, oh, I got to catch another one.
I'd catch one, and then somebody'd catch one bigger than what I caught, and then I wouldn't make up any ground. I said, "Dadgum."
And it all starts at 0 tomorrow. So, I mean, nobody's got a lead on you.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Or Tuesday, yeah.
We'll get back to
Okay,
it.
so we're learning about how Shaw got, and we found out he's more of a man than I even realized, being a snake catcher and alligator catcher. So then what?
Well, so I was hunting and fishing, just outdoors. And then this kid from Boy Scouts, he was actually patrol leader, really smart. I mean, like straight A's and, taking college courses in high school. And in 8th grade, he moved over to my school. And so I was the kid he knew because he knew me from Boy Scouts. He was a bass fisherman. I mean, that's what he liked. He was bass fishing. He'd read Bassmaster magazine and he'd bass fish. He had a little 10-foot Ted Williams Sears John boat with a 4.5 horse motor. And he had built a little platform, put a little trolling motor up there. Dude, we were styling. And so I'd go fishing with him. So that's the guy that got me into
Introduced you to
bass fishing.
That's cool.
And focused me. And then he says, you want to, at one point I fished one tournament when I was 16 at Lake Seminole. And so that was the first tournament I'd ever fished. And I just said, I want to do it. I'm working at Publix, making money. I had some money. I went to fish the tournament, drove up to Seminole and had a great time, didn't catch squat. And
Were you a sight fisherman at this point yet?
No, I was learning about it.
He's like the all-time best sight fisherman ever.
I don't.
I mean,
agree
you were the
with that.
godfather of it. No
Yeah,
ifs, ands, or
yeah,
buts about it. Nobody'd ever argue with
So,
me. It's really cool.
So I fished that one in Seminole. Well, then one day he calls me. I was racing motorcycles and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And my buddy Jerry Beavis, who's the kid that moved over, he goes, you want to fish a tournament this weekend? I went, well, I don't have a race, sure. So
Right.
back in those days, he had now moved up from that little boat to a 17-foot Aeroglass, I think is what it was, with a 85 on the back of it. And so we went down to fish a Jack's Marine tournament at Kissimmee Chain, and it was out of, where the canal between between Hatchnahaw and Kissimmee. So we took off. Back in those days, there was no ooze off. It was line up all the boats. So they would line them all up in a big line. They'd shoot a flare and everybody take off to go to those canals, to run to Toho. And since everybody was catching them in Toho, that's where you ran. Well, we line up, we got an 85. Now back then the biggest motor was a 135. I think Mercury made a 135 and everybody else was small. So they made 125s and all. Well, we had this 85, so we sat behind and we said, well, they're going to blow us away. So we got behind two boats, they were just a line of them, two boats like this, and we were sitting there and they had their jumpsuits on. I mean, they were matching style. We're like, these guys are professionals.
They were rolling Martins.
One, yeah. And two of them were like smoking cigars and all. I mean, it was just really, like, wow, these guys are really good. So we kicked back. And so they shout. Jack came running down the deal, shot the flare. Everybody hits it. Well, we're behind these two boats, and I mean, we're not but from here to that door, you know, and which is 10 feet behind them or something. And we shoot down on it, and you know, back in those, the boats come up and then drop. Well, there's no water to drop into because both of them had prop washed us with these, you know, 125s and 135s, just blowing it out. We fell like forever. My tackle box went in the air, floated, boom, hit there, and it went everywhere. I was holding on to rods. He's showering down on it. We're wet. It's like terrible. So I'm he's racing, trying to do this in this stuff, and I'm like trying to gather tackle, and then I'm telling him, no, go straight, don't follow these guys. So he's cutting to the first point, and then when we hit the canal going from Hatchnahaw to Cypress, he was 6 inches off the bank right next to it and cut off about 30 boats. And we were ripping. I mean, we got a little 85, and we're like, this is awesome. So we rip down that. We get to this is how shook up I was. We get to the lock, and it only took like, you know,
and your parents probably would, like, you're 17. Yeah.
No. So
I can just see my son do this.
I'm sitting in the lock, and I tied a Texas rig on 3 times, and I was so shook up I didn't put the bullet weight on.
Oh, no.
And I had to cut it off, and I'm like, oh, this is great. And I said, this is a sport for me. It's racing and fishing, because I was racing cycles at the time, and that's how I got into fishing tournaments.
That is cool.
It was that simple.
That is cool. When was the first tournament you won? Or when did you make it? Like, when do you feel like you got your first paying sponsor?
So, you know, I fished, and we won tournaments in the state. Jerry was really good. I mean, he was like Kevin and you, and I mean, he was really, really good. And so I learned from him. I was a great net man. So that progressed me pretty quickly. And so we won local and state tournaments and stuff like that. Well, the first, when I really, you know, figured it out was I went professional. I figured I saved enough money to go professional. In '84, I went professional and started fishing bass. Now, I fished one in '77, made a check, and I fished one in '82 and maybe one '83, whatever. But my first full season was for the '85 Classic, '84, '85, because they started in
the fall.
September and went, And I got killed the first year out. And then the next season, I made the Classic. And you're thinking, okay, I make the Bassmasters Classic. Sponsors are going to come.
I thought the same thing.
And it doesn't do
It doesn't work that way.
It's like, really? You better be making it like 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Then people are going, dude, we need this guy. Yeah. So, but anyway, so that's, I think when I realized that I could make it in professional fishing was right here on Harris Chain in a Megabucks. And I'm thinking it might have been 86 or something like that. 86, 87.
Didn't you win?
No, I finished second, but I led all 4 days of qualifying. So I led day 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then they zero the weight.
Then you go to Little Harris.
Go to Little Lake.
Yeah.
And I think I finished second behind Lonnie Stanley.
Was it Stanley? I didn't remember.
I think that was my first one. Nixon won, I think, the first one.
Okay.
Then Lonnie won the second one. So that was that one. When I realized that you could lead against all those guys, and you do it 4 straight days, I said I can do it. And then in that must have been 80, 85 or 86, because in that 86 was when I won my first BASS at Rayburn. And it was disappointing because they'd canceled a day because of weather. So I was the first guy to win a 2-day BASS rather than a 3-day.
Wow.
So, you know, and I was kind of bummed that everybody in history had to go 3 full days, which is a lot harder than 2, you know, which is definitely a lot harder than 1. And so, you know, I got the benefit, and everybody's going, dude, you just take the money and go and get smile all the way, you know, and I'm like, you know.
You won a bunch more after that one, though.
Yes,
I mean, there's, lots of them, and it's pretty cool, I'll never forget one time we were at an event, and I was blown away by your generosity. It was, I think, Eagle Mountain Lake, and you were wrecking them suspended underneath boat docks. And I still have that spinnerbait you gave me.
That's awesome.
I still have it to this day. He gave me this little bitty, compact Strike King spinnerbait, and it had red underneath the skirt. And I got it hanging in my tackle shop. I mean, it's just, I'll never forget. I mean, we're in the competition, and he's like, here, throw this thing. It'll help you catch some fish. And that's how good a guy this guy is.
I can tell you, I still remember you there, because you remember those big houseboats? I mean, those are those huge houseboats and all. and I'd go by one, and you and I were just fishing this marina together, and I'd look down there, and there'd be a bait all the way in the back, hung up about this far up, broken off. I went, how the heck did he ever get it there?
I don't think they let us go get him back then.
No, but you would I'm like, dude, that guy's a stud. He can get it all. I couldn't get it halfway there, and he's like,
No.
so.
No.
All right, I'm going to tell one on Edwin real quick, okay? This is when I knew he was going to be an incredible professional angler. So we're on a plane to Brazil to go peacock fishing. Yeah, it's going to embarrass me to say. On a plane to Brazil,
This ain't good.
and Edwin's sitting over here, and the beautiful flight attendant, Brazilian, gives him her number. Have y'all ever seen that happen on an airplane? No, I haven't. Okay, he gets the number and he does this, and he tells me straight out. He says, "What do I do with this?" And I'm like, well, I got a lot of answers for that, but he's single and young and good looking, and he says, direct quote, he goes, "Women, they'll hurt your fishing." And I knew from that moment that focus that you had
I
was
used to think that. I did.
Dude,
I did. I mean,
I don't mean it to be funny, and I don't mean it to be disrespectful. Dude, I knew that you.
They'd get in your head. They'd mess with my head. They would. I had to steer clear of them. I'd get to thinking about them and not fishing. That's true.
That's my best Edwin story ever.
A couple other things that I think super cool about Shaw. I want to hear about your son.
Okay.
The coolest thing ever was your son at one time was a professional paintballer.
Yes, he almost got to he was the level right underneath that they actually invited him to some foreign country to go play, but he was really good. So you get these little spuds and they get to playing paintball, and dude, if they had paintball when we were growing up, we would be mashing them because that was a blast, diving over bunkers and shooting your buddies, and so he gets to mouth in this, and it's his first tournament, 3-man. So he's got his buddies, 3 against 3. He went to Lake City, and all he could do is talk trash. And I'm like, that's not, me. That's not me. That's not who I am. That's not. And I'm like, dude, you need to watch it. You can do what you do. If you win, you win. But you don't talk trash about like we're going to kill him. We're going to, that's just not kind of the cool thing to do. Anyway, so the first game out of the deal, they started, they 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They turn around and shoot. His number 1 player, boom, shot out. His number 2 player shot out, and he's by himself. And he's in a back bunker over here. And I'm like, yeah, there you go. We can't say anything because parents, I'm sitting back there watching. I said, that's what he deserves. Every bit of that, every bit of that. So one of the kids sticks his head out. He lays paint. Boom, takes him out. Another kid's running down. Boom, he takes him out. And as soon he shoots about 6 or 10 balls real quick at this kid down on this bottom line, takes off, runs over the other side. They ain't got no clue he's over there. He starts working up, trying to shoot Shaw, and Shaw just goes, takes him out. So he wins it all by himself, and I'm like, holy cow, he might be good. I'm like,
I just think that's cool.
Yeah, when you have a kid like that, you go, dude, that's my boy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then he worked his way up, and they had a great time. And they actually came back, their team, they placed like 2nd in Chicago and did some other stuff, which was really fun to be at. They got their team back together as old guys last year. I think it was last year, and they mashed them up into the finals again. So they're still pretty good, but he tore up his knee and all that stuff. It's a fun deal.
Neat.
Yeah, so he was real close on
That's neat. The other thing that I think is super cool that I just learned about you a couple weeks ago, sushi. You are like a sushi expert.
I love it.
You will eat it 7 days a week, I hear.
I could. I like it a lot. Paul goes with me some too, and there is literally, if you like sushi, there's one of the best sushi restaurants ever at Mount Dora.
Really?
It's called Wave Sushi and Asian Bistro, and it's unbelievable. They have sushi pizza, big old pizza deal. They got sushi burrito, sushi donut, sushi. They made, I could show you on my phone, we went down and got my son's birthday cake. Down there was sushi cake.
Sushi cake?
So it's got salmon is the icing. It's got the rice. It's got spicy tuna inside. It had connie, which is the spicy crab. You put all that together, and it was unbelievable.
We don't have that in Oklahoma.
No.
We don't have that, I promise you. Man, I enjoyed it. I wanted to hear how you got to where you are, Shaw. And there's a lot more to your story, you know, the television show that you were so successful with for so long. But I appreciate you for being Shaw.
Always. I appreciate you, man.
Thanks so much for taking the time to tell us how you got to where you are.
Yeah, pretty cool, man.
All right.